Good morning, students. Now we are going to see about ecological adaptations. What are adaptations? The modification in the structure of organisms to survive successfully in an environment are called adaptations. Based on the habitats corresponding, the plants are classified as hydrophytes, xerophytes, mesophytes, epiphytes, and halophytes. Now we see about the first type, hydrophytes. The plants which are living in water or wet places are called as hydrophytes. They are subdivided into following categories: free floating hydrophytes, rooted floating hydrophytes, submerged floating hydrophytes, rooted submerged hydrophytes, and amphibious hydrophytes. The first type is the free floating hydrophytes. These plants float freely on the surface of water. They remain in contact with water and air but not with soil. Example: Eichhornia, Pistia, and Wolffia. Wolffia is the smallest flowering plant. The second type is rooted floating hydrophytes. In this, the roots are fixed in the mud, but the leaves and flowers are floating on the surfaces of water. These plants are contact with soil, water, and air. Example: Nelumbo, Nymphia, Potamogeton, and Marsilia. Lotus seeds, they show highest longevity in the plant kingdom. Then the third type is submerged floating hydrophytes. These plants are completely submerged in water and not in contact with soil and air. Example: Ceratophyllum and Utricularia. The fourth one is rooted submerged hydrophytes. These plants are completely submerged in water and rooted in soil and not in contact with air. Examples: Hydrilla, Vallisneria, and Isoetis. And the last type, amphibious hydrophytes, they are otherwise known as rooted emergent hydrophytes. These plants are adapted to both aquatic and terrestrial mode of life. They grow in shallow water. Example: Ranunculus, Typha, and Sagittaria. Now we are going to see about hygrophytes. We have completed the hydrophytes. Now we are going to see the hygrophytes. Hygrophytes, plants which can grow in moist, damp, and shady places are called as hygrophytes. Example: Habenaria and mosses. Habenaria is an orchid, mosses is a bryophyte. Now we see the morphological adaptations of hydrophytes in roots. Roots are totally absent in Wolffia and Salvinia. They are poorly developed in Hydrilla and they are well developed in Ranunculus. The root caps are replaced by root packets. Example: Eichhornia. Now we see the morphological adaptations of hydrophytes in stem. The stem is long, slender, spongy, and flexible in submerged forms. In free floating forms, the stem is thick, short, stoloniferous, and spongy. That means they have an attachment with the young ones. And in rooted floating forms, it is a rhizome. Vegetative propagation is through runners, stolon, stem, and root cuttings, tubers, dormant epices, and offsets. Dormant epices means they are resting buds. In that also the propagation occurs. In leaves, they are thin, long, and ribbon shaped in Vallisneria, or long and linear in Potamogeton, or finely dissected in Ceratophyllum. The floating leaves are large and flat as in Nymphea and Nelumbo. In Eichhornia and Trapha, petioles become swollen and spongy. In emergent forms, the leaves show heterophyly. Heterophyly means two types of leaves. Submerged leaves, they are dissected, and aerial leaves, they are entire. Example: Ranunculus, Limniphylla, Heterophylla, and Sagittaria. Now we see the anatomical adaptations of hydrophytes. Cuticle is either completely absent or it is present as thin or poorly developed. Single layer of epidermis is present. It is the green layer which is present on the top. Cortex in middle layer, they are well developed with air and chyma cells with lot of air spaces. Vascular tissues are poorly developed in emergent forms. They are the amphibious forms. They are the vascular elements or well developed. Mechanical tissues are generally absent except in some emergent forms. Pit cells or sclerenchymatous. So they give mechanical support to the plant. Physiological adaptations of hydrophytes. Hydrophytes have the ability to withstand anaerobic conditions. That is, the absence of oxygen, they survive. They possess special aerating organs. Now we come to the next one, that is the xerophytes. The plants which are living in dry or xeric conditions are known as xerophytes. They are of two types based on the habitat. One is physical dryness and the second one is physiological dryness. Physical dryness is based on the habitats. The soil has a little amount of water due to the inability of the soil to hold water because of low rainfall. Physiological dryness. In this, the habitat water is sufficiently present, but plants are unable to absorb it because of the absence of capillary spaces. Example, plants in salty and acidic soils. Based on the adaptive characters, they are divided into three categories: ephemerals, succulents, and non-succulent plants based on the physiological dryness. Now we come to the ephemerals. They are also called as drought escapers or drought evaders. These plants complete their life cycle within a short period of season. That season is called a single season. These are not true xerophytes. Example, Orgemone, Moluga, Tribulus, and Trifrosia. Second type is the succulents. These are called drought-enduring plants. These plants store water in the parts during the dry period. These plants develop certain adaptive characters to resist the drought. Example, Opentia, Aloe, Bryophyllum, and Begonia. Non-succulents, they are otherwise called as drought-resistant plants or true xerophytes. They face both external and internal dryness. They have many adaptations to resist dry conditions. Example, Casuarina, Nerium, Gigipus, and Acacia. Morphological adaptations in root. The root system is well developed and is greater than that of shoot system. Root hairs and root caps are also well developed. In xerophytic plants with the leaves and stem covered with hairs are called as trichophilous plants. Example, cucurbits, Melothera, and Muckia. Now we see the adaptation, morphological adaptation in stem. Stems are mostly hard and woody. They may be aerial or underground. The stems and leaves are covered with wax coating or covered with dense hairs. In some xerophytes, all the internodes in the stem are modified into a fleshy leaf-like structures called as phylloclades. Example, Opentia. In some others, single or occasionally two internodes modified into fleshy green structures called cladodes. Example, Asparagus. In some, the petiole is modified into a fleshy leaf-like structure called phyllodes. Example, Acacia. Now we see the morphological adaptations in leaves. Leaves are generally leathery and shiny to reflect light and heat. In some plants like Euphorbia, Acacia, Gigipus, and Capparis, the stipules are modified into spines. The lateral appendages are modified into spines. The entire leaves are modified into spines in Opentia, reduced to scales in Asparagus. Now we come to the anatomical adaptations of xerophytes. Presence of multi-layered epidermis, which is shown in the picture. Lot of cells are present, many layers. Hypodermis is well developed with sclerenchymatous tissue for mechanical support. Sunken stomata are present only in the lower epidermis with hairs in the sunken pit. Cotoactive type of stomata found in succulent plants. Vascular bundles are well developed with several layer bundle sheath. The covering of the bundle vascular bundle is called as the bundle sheath. Mesophyll is well differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma. They have the elongated spongy cells, palisade cells, and somewhat spherical cells. They are spongy layer, and it is called as a spongy parenchyma. In succulents, the stem possesses a water storage region. Now we see the physiological adaptations. Most of the physiological processes are designed to reduce transpiration. Life cycle is completed within a short period of time, and they are called as ephemerals. So we have completed the hydrophytes and xerophytes. Now we are going to the third type, mesophytes. Plants living in moderate conditions, neither too wet nor too dry, in the land is called as mesophytes. They are common land plants, example maize and hibiscus. Now we see the morphological adaptations of mesophytes. Root system is well developed with root caps and root hairs. Stems are generally aerial, stout and highly branched. Leaves are generally large, broad, thin with different shapes. Now we see the anatomical adaptations of mesophytes. Cuticle in aerial parts are moderately developed. Epidermis is well developed. And stomata are generally present on both the epidermis, upper epidermis as well as the lower epidermis. Mesophyll is well differentiated into palisade and spongy parenchyma. Vascular and mechanical tissues are fairly developed and well differentiated. Now we see the physiological adaptations. All physiological processes are normal. Temporary wilting takes place at room temperature. Where there is water scarcity, the drooping takes place. Next we see the tropophytes. Plants, they behave as xerophytes at summer and behave as mesophytes or hydrophytes during rainy season. They are called as tropophytes. Next we are going to see about the epiphytes. Plants which grow on other plants only for the support, and such plants are called as epiphytes. They do not depend for water or food. These epiphytes are commonly seen in tropical rainforests. Example, orchids, linus, hanging mosses and money plants. Now we see the morphological adaptations of epiphytes. Root system is extensively developed. Roots may be of two types. They are clinging roots and aerial roots. Clinging roots, they fix the epiphytes firmly on the surface of supporting objects. Aerial roots, they are green colored roots. They hang downwardly, absorb moisture from the atmosphere with the help of a special spongy tissue called velamen. Stem of some epiphytes are succulent and develop pseudobulb or tuber. The leaves are lesser in number and may be fleshy and leathery. Myrmecophily is a common occurrence in the epiphytic vegetation to prevent the predators. The fruits and seeds are very small and usually dispersed by wind, insects and birds. Now we see the anatomical adaptations of epiphytes. Multi-layered epidermis is present with lot of cells. Inner to the velamen tissue, exodermis is present. This is present outside the cortex. The presence of thick cuticle and sunken stomata greatly reduces transpiration. Succulent epiphytes contain well-developed parenchyma cells to store water. Now we see the physiological adaptations of epiphytes. Special absorption process of water by velamen tissue. And we come to the fourth type, that is the halophytes. They are special type of halophytic plants. They grow in high concentration of salt. Example, Rhizophora, Soneraceae and Avicennia. Halophytes are found near the seashores and estuaries. The soils are physically wet but physiologically dry. Plants cannot use salt water directly, they require filtration of salt using this physiological process. The vegetation is also known as mangrove forest, and the plants are called mangroves. So, the plants which are found in the salt concentration, when they grow there, it is called as mangroves. Now we see the morphological adaptations of halophytes. The temperate halophytes and herbaceous, but the tropical halophytes are mostly bushy. In addition to normal roots, they have stilt roots. They have negatively geotrophic roots and they are called as nematophores. They are with the presence of the nematodes, small pore-like structure to get sufficient aeration, and they are also called as breathing roots. Example, Avicennia. Presence of thick cuticle on the aerial parts of the plant body. Leaves are thick, entire, succulent and glossy. Some species are aphillous, that means without leaves. They have a viviparous mode of germination in halophytes. Now we see the anatomical adaptations of halophytes. Epidermal cell of stem is heavily cutinized, almost squarish, and are filled with oil and tannins. They have star-shaped scleroids and head-shaped, heavily thickened spicules that provide mechanical strength to cortex, and they are present in the stem. The leaves may be dorsiventral or isobilateral with salt secreting glands. Dorsiventral, you know that they have a well differentiated the palisade and spongy layer. Isobilateral, the leaf is not differentiated. Now we come to the physiological adaptations. High osmotic pressure exists in some plants. Seed germinate in the fruit while on the mother plant. That is called as vivipary. We have seen all the types of the adaptations, the hydrophytes, xerophytes, mesophytes, epiphytes and halophytes. Now we are going to see about the dispersal of fruits and seeds. Fruits and seeds possess attractive color, shape and taste needed for the dispersal by birds, mammals, reptiles, fish, ants and insects, even earthworms. Seed consists of an embryo. They store a lot of food material and they have an outer covering called as the seed coat. Seeds contain miniature but dormant future plants. The dissemination of the seeds and fruits to various distances from the parent plant is called seed and fruit dispersal. It takes place with the help of ecological factors such as wind, water and animals. Seed dispersal is a regeneration process of plant population and a common means of colonizing new areas to avoid seedling level competition, and from natural enemies like herbivores, plant eaters, frugivores, fruit eaters, and pathogens. Fruit maturation and seed dispersal is influenced by many ecological favorable conditions such as seasons. Example, summer, suitable environment and seasonally availability of dispersal agents like birds, insects, etc. Seeds require agents for dispersal that you all know. They offer many benefits to communities such as food and nutrients, migration of seeds across habitats, and helps spreading plant genetic diversity. First one is dispersal by wind. It's otherwise known as anemochory. The individual seeds or the whole fruit may be modified to help for the dispersal by wind. Dispersal of fruits and seed is common in tall plants. The adaptation of the wind dispersal is in the form of a wing. Example, maple, Gyrocoppus, Dipterocoppus and Terminalia. Feathery appendages. Seeds and fruits may have feathery appendages which greatly increase the buoyancy to disperse to higher altitudes. Buoyancy means helps to float. Example, Vernonia asclepias. Sensor mechanism. The fruits of many plants open in such a way that the seeds can escape only when the fruit is violently shaken by a strong wind. Example, Aristolochia and poppy. Dispersal by water is otherwise called as hydrochory. Dispersal of seeds and fruits by water occur in those plants. Adaptation of hydrochory. They have opconical receptacle with prominent air spaces. Example, Nelumbo. Presence of fibrous mesocarp and light pericarp. Example, coconut. Seeds or light, small, provided with aril which encloses air. Example, Nymphea. The fruit may be inflated. Example, Heritidia littoralis. Seeds by themselves would not float, may be carried by water current. Example, coconut. Birds, and next one is about by the animals, dispersal by animals. It's otherwise called as zoochory. Birds and mammals, including human beings, play an efficient and important role in the dispersal of fruits and seeds. First, about the hooked fruit. The surface of the fruits are seeds with hook. In Xanthium, barbs. They are short projections in the Anthropogon. Spines in Aristidia. With that, they adhere in the body of animals or clothes of human beings and get dispersed. Sticky fruits and seeds, which they adhere to the fur of grazing animals. Example, Boihavia and Cleome. Some fruits have viscid layer, that means they have a sticky layer with adhered to the beak of the bird which eat them. When they rub them to the branch of the tree, they disperse and germinate. Example, Cordia and Alangium. Third one is the fleshy fruits. Some fleshy fruits with conspicuous colors are dispersed by human beings to distant places after consumption. Mango, Diplocyclos. Dispersal by explosive mechanism, that is called as autochory. The sound will be produced during the dispersal. Some fruits burst suddenly with a force enabling to throw seeds to a little distance away from the plant. Mere touch of some plants causes the ripened fruit to explode suddenly and the seeds are thrown out with great force. Example, Impatiens, balsam plant and hurrah. Some fruits, when they come in contact with water, particularly after a shower of rain, burst suddenly with a noise and scatter the seeds. Example, Ruelia and Crosandra. Certain long pods explode with a loud noise like cracker, scattering the seeds in all directions. Example, Bauhinia woli. It's otherwise known as camel's foot climber. As the fruit matures, the tissues around seeds are converted to mucilaginous substances due to high target pressure inside the fruit, which leads to the dispersal of seeds. Example, Iqbalium elatrium, it's otherwise known as skirting cucumber, Gyrocorpus and Dipterocorpus. Human aided seed dispersal, mainly by the seed balls. Seed ball is an ancient Japanese technique encasing the seeds in a mixture of clay and soil humus and also in cow dung and scattering them onto the suitable ground, not planting of trees manually. This method is suitable for barren and degraded lands for tree generation and vegetation. They occur before monsoon period where the suitable dispersal agents become rare. What is atelochory or acory? That means it prevents dispersal of seeds and fruits. It is called as atelochory or acory. Some ecologically important days. You have studied many days. These ecologically important days, some days are given here. Let me tell that. March 21st, it's a World Forest Day. April 22nd, Earth Day. May 22nd, World Biodiversity Day. June 5th, World Environmental Day. July 7th, Van Mahotswa Day. September 16th, International Ozone Day. Now we see about advantages of seed dispersal. Seeds escape from mortality, that is from death, near the parent plant due to the predation by animals or getting disease and also avoiding the competition. Dispersal also gives a chance to occupy favorable sites for growth. It is an important process in the movement of plant genes, particularly this is the only method available for self-fertilized flowers and maternally transmitted genes in outcrossing plants. Seed dispersal by animals help in conservation of many species, even in human-altered ecosystem. Understanding of fruits and seed dispersal acts as a key for proper functioning and establishment of many ecosystems from the desert to evergreen forests, and also for the maintenance of biodiversity, conservation and restoration of ecosystems. That's all for the today's class. Thank you, students.